All right, I think I have someone on Zoom who's not muted. I'm gonna mute you. It's Corinne. There we go. Okay, so that should pin my screen up for you all. So we are going to start today down on our backs. So you're welcome to lie right down. Everyone make sure you do have something to use as a prop. You'll definitely want 2 blocks. If you're at home and you don't own 2 blocks, every practice you do with me, always grab 2 blocks, and then straps and bolsters and blankets and anything else, but 2 blocks is the bare minimum for sure. If you're at home and you don't have blocks, grab a couple pillows. You can also use milk jugs. You could use books, anything like that.
That's all the blocks. Yes.
There's actually more downstairs, but it's okay. If you have one, that should be sufficient too. We'll make do.
Does anyone need one of these?
I think everyone has at least one. All right. So once you're lying down, take a moment if you want to cover up your eyes. If you want to place something under your knees, do what you can to get cozy. You might want a blanket over the body if you have access to a blanket. Yeah, and if you're at home and you feel comfortable keeping your video on and you kind of in my line of sight, that's great. You know, holds you accountable for the practice. I'm not going to worry if you're not doing everything, just like I wouldn't if you were in the studio. But it also helps me to cue you and helps me to see kind of if my cues are landing for folks at home as well. And I get to see all of your pretty plants in the room. Okay, so first things first, I want you to start to focus on the breath. So if you haven't taken a moment to land with your breath this morning, just taking a moment to first observe it. You don't need to change it, just watching the breath. And if there are places in your breath that are catching, if you notice any rough kind of texture in the breath or stickiness somewhere in the lungs or in the diaphragm, just noticing that, noticing the length of your inhalations, the length of your exhalations. And then just starting to smooth out the breath. So if you notice those rough places, taking a moment to kind of smooth them over, see if you can make the breath a little more connected, a little more smooth. right? If it's catching, making the inhale and the exhale continuous. And if it's kind of shallow, deepening the breath. So if you're thinking, oh, come on, let's do something. Let's not just fly here and breathe. You are doing something, right? You're warming up your lungs. You're preparing to breathe deeper through the practice. You're warming your diaphragmatic muscles. So we're not just lying here and breathing. We're really intentionally breathing. All of our focus is on our breath, and it's getting bigger and deeper and more nourishing. I'm going to have you start to shift now your focus around the base of the spine and in the area of your lower abdomen, pelvis. So in this area of the body lives the psoas. And the psoas muscle is the deepest muscle in the human body. So it's our deepest skeletal muscle. And it affects our structure in some major ways. It connects from the lower 5 lumbar vertebrae all the way up to T12, the 12th thoracic vertebrae in our spine. And from those vertebrae, it kind of flows down through the pelvis, through the hips, through the abdominal core to attach actually on the top of our femur bone. So all the way down to the leg. So it's almost like this little basket that holds parts of our pelvis and our organs. So anatomically, it's responsible for holding us upright, and it allows us to lift our legs in order to walk, helps us to dance, helps us to run. And a healthy functioning psoas actually stabilizes the spine and provides support to the trunk. And again, it forms that kind of shelf for the vital organs of the abdominal core. So the psoas is actually connected to our diaphragm, that we're warming here as we breathe intentionally and deeply, and as we move our torso as we breathe. It's connected through connective tissue or fascia. And all of this connective tissue around the psoas affects both our breath and our fear reflex. So the psoas is directly linked neurologically to the reptilian brain. And that's the most ancient interior part of the brain stem and the spinal cord. So long before we had even spoken word, the organizing capacity of the cortex was not developed. We had the reptilian brain. And that was known, that part of our brain is known for its survival instinct. Okay. And this part of our brain still, functions today to keep us alive. Sometimes it functions on overdrive. Because our modern lifestyles really pump our bodies with adrenaline and over-ignite our sympathetic nervous systems. And because of this connection between the reptilian brain and the psoas is actually chronically triggered, chronically tightened, basically making us ready to run or fight. So it's preparing us to spring into action or to curl up into a protective ball. But when we constantly contract this muscle, eventually it begins to shorten and it can lead to tons of different conditions and pain. Low back pain, sacral pain, sciatica, scoliosis, hip degeneration, knee pain, menstruation pain, infertility even, and digestive problems. So it constricts the organs when it's tight, puts pressure on nerves, interferes with movement of fluids, and even impairs diaphragmatic breathing. Liz Koch says the Psoas is so intimately involved in such basic physical and emotional reactions that a chronically tightened Psoas continually signals your body that you're in danger, eventually exhausting the adrenal system and depleting the immune system. So why would we want a nice, loose, open psoas? Because it affects so many functions of our bodies, because it affects our brain. So I want you to take a deep breath and imagine that your breath could actually move down to the pit of your abdomen. And maybe you imagine you see that muscle in your mind's eye. Maybe you see it connecting to the lower thoracic vertebrae, your lumbar vertebrae at the base of your spine, and then wrapping inward all the way to the tops of your femur bones, just cradling all of those really important organs in your deep core. So I don't want you to just think about this. Breathe until you feel your breath lifting your chest, lifting your ribs, lifting your belly, and imagine the breath could go even lower into your pelvis. And then exhale and let it all sink. Beautiful. And in the studio, the breath is getting a little louder. If you're at home, you can keep your camera on. I can see your breath moving in your belly. Yeah, really emphasize that. Lift it up. Inhale. Exhale. At this point, I'll suggest that you start to layer that ujjayi breath onto your diaphragmatic breathing. So you have some sound. You're building a little bit of heat on this chilly morning as well. Toning the nervous system. Now keep that breath flowing, keep it strong. Now when you're ready, we're gonna start to reach the arms up overhead. Now if you're in the studio, just be mindful, you might tickle someone's feet behind you. So instead of straightening your arms straight back, you might reach for your elbows. If you have enough space to reach back, great. Some of our setup folks did space everything out this morning, which is lovely. Kind of staggered folks. Yeah, and we're going to begin to move through some of those those 6 movements of the spine to just get everyone warmed up. So big exhale, I'm going to have you hug your knees into your chest now. Yeah, and then you might even curl your head up towards your knees. Little sound issue. So you're getting that full spinal flexion. Yeah. Awesome. And then exhale and just relax the head back down. And from there, I'm going to have you rock just a little bit from side to side. You can kind of warm up through the low back. There we go. Yeah, you might be kind of cupping your knees for this. And just rolling your sacrum out. Beautiful. Make sure you switch directions in those circles. And then we're going to place the feet back down on the ground when you're all done, when you feel evened out from side to side. We'll reach the fingertips towards the heels. And as you do that, I want you to kind of move your shoulder blades underneath your body a bit. Yeah. So your fingertips should kind of brush your heels as you reach down. Awesome. And then exhale, press your feet a little firmer into the ground. Inhale, slide your shoulder blades underneath you and start to lift your hips up. Puff up your chest. Yeah. So Jane, you're going to walk the feet a little closer together and a little closer back towards your shoulders. Yeah. Okay, if your knees are starting to bow out to the sides, I want you to draw them in slightly. So engage through your inner thighs. So you're up in bridge here. Yeah. Okay, big deep breaths. Resist the urge to go too far in the shoulders yet. Let's make sure we're nice and warm there. And then exhale, let's slowly release back down. Vertebrae by vertebrae if you can. Really hone in on awareness in your spine. Beautiful. Okay, we're gonna do this a little bit more dynamically now. So reach your fingertips towards your heels. I want your fingertips to brush your heels if possible. And even if something that I'm saying doesn't work for your body and it sounds like it's a command, just know that it's not. If it's really not working, that's okay. I want you to try things out, but listen to what's happening inside. Yeah. All right, so you're not in bridge yet. Your seat is down on the ground. As you inhale, I want your arms to reach up overhead and back behind you, and your hips will lift at the same time. We're moving in slow motion. As you exhale, slow motion, the arms lower and each vertebrae of the spine lowers. Beautiful. So inhaling, arms and hips come up and the arms reach back. Exhaling, slow motion, start to drop those thoracic mid vertebrae down onto the mat, and then lower lumbar vertebrae all the way down to let the hands release by your sides. So flow with your own breath. Maybe you close your eyes, inhaling to lift up and back. Exhaling, slow motion, lowering back down. At your own pace, inhaling. This can be like delicious if you can slow it down enough to really drop down vertebrae by vertebrae and really lift up vertebrae by vertebrae. That can be hard depending on what's happening in our spine and happening in the tissue around all the vertebrae, but try it out. Try to articulate the movement to such fine detail that you can move up and down with every single vertebrae, everyone that you can feel. Yeah, the next time that you exhale and drop your sacrum down, I want you to pause there. Just pause. Feel that difference between movement and stillness. So flexion and extension. We're going to hug the knees into the chest now. Give them a little squeeze back into that flexion, at least in the mid and low spine. And then feet can drop down on the mat once again. I want you to slide your whole body over to the left slightly. Awesome. And then drop your knees now to the right and see if you can stack them one on top of the other, if that feels okay. If that doesn't work, or if you start to roll to your side as you do that, put a block in between or underneath your knees. And if you want more of a spinal twist and a little more sensation in your hips, you're going to wrap your top left leg around your right bottom leg like eagle pose. Yeah. Okay, arms can come out to the sides, either cactus arms with the elbows bent, or you might straighten your arms if you have space for that. And then if you want this twist to really be from the base of the spine upward, then slow motion, drop your shoulder down to the mat. Yep, relax your arm If that's not happening, you need to prop your knees up so that your shoulder can stay grounded. Yes. And then rotate the gaze over towards your hand. I want those hands relaxed if possible. Yes. Beautiful. Okay. So this is a really gentle, maybe it doesn't feel gentle, but it's a gentle way to twist if you can actually relax your muscles so you're not tightening in your core. So it's a nice way to twist around the spine without putting too much wear and tear on those muscles if you can relax here. If you can prop yourself up so that your legs can get heavy and your shoulder can stay grounded. We're going to take about 5 deep breaths. Try to use that Ujjayi breath. So Liz Koch, who's this anatomist kind of obsessed with the psoas, believes that the first step in cultivating a healthy psoas is to release unnecessary tension. She says to work with the psoas is not to try and control the muscle, but to cultivate the awareness necessary for sensing its messages. This involves a conscious choice to become somatically aware. So we're referring to and trying to develop that interoceptive awareness. So exhale to come back to center. You can unwind your legs if they're tangled together. Yeah, and then from here, we're going to move to the other side. So start by sliding your whole body now over to the right. And then dropping your knees to the left. See if you could stack your legs, and the shoulder is going to be a kind of a measure of your twist here. If your shoulder starts to come off of the mat, you want to prop your legs up so that you can keep your shoulder grounded. If you want a little bit more sensation, take that top right leg and wrap it around the left. Yes. And then you decide how you open up your arms, and if you rotate your head towards your right fingertips and try to relax those arms. Get heavy here. This is a longer hold, and we want to work deep to release muscle tension, but also to have a chance to change tissue a little bit. So Danielle Olson says, a relaxed psoas is the mark of play and creative expression. Instead of a contracted psoas ready to run or fight, the relaxed and released psoas is ready instead to lengthen and open and dance. In many yoga postures like tree, the thighs can't fully rotate outward unless the psoas releases. A released psoas allows the front of the thighs to lengthen and the leg to move independently from the pelvis, enhancing and deepening the lift of the entire torso and the heart. Yes, I love hearing that Ujjayi breath flowing, nice and warm. As you exhale, it slowly release and unwind back to a more neutral place. So flexion, extension, twisting left and right. Now we're going to move into a little psoas stretch and get some lateral flexion at the same time. So some of you are actually just doing this naturally, but I'm going to have you walk your feet about mat's distance apart. Some of you may need to be a little wider, a little bit less. This is dependent on the way that your hips are shaped. Yeah. Okay, so with your feet mat's distance apart, take some time to windshield wiper from side to side. If a little bit of movement would be helpful, get that synovial fluid flowing in your hips. Great, and then drop the knees now over to the right. So keep your feet mat's distance apart, come back to center, everyone come back to center. Yep, keep your feet mat's distance apart. Or a little bit less or a little bit more, but nice and wide. Press your feet down. I want you to kind of imagine that your feet are anchored. Now drop your legs over to the right. Keep them there. Yes. Okay. That might feel good for some folks. Many of us will want to slide a block or a pillow underneath the right knee here. So if your right knee doesn't come down to the ground comfortably, slide a prop underneath it. Great. And then option to take your right foot and place it on the outside of your left knee. So left outer knee. Again, most of us are going to want a prop underneath that knee. I see some floating knees. If your knee is floating, place a prop underneath it. We want to be able to relax here. The prop is not a signal that you're not doing well, right? Like Malika says, it's actually a signal to me that you have a more advanced practice. We're trying to aim at deep skeletal muscle and tissue. So if you can't relax the leg, it's not going to happen. So you've got to be able to relax that leg. So really prop yourself up. Great. I want your upper body. This is kind of specific because I'm trying to release your psoas here. And that's a tough job because it's the deepest skeletal muscle in the body, right? I want your upper body and I want the left side of your hip to stay on the ground. So some of you have rolled to the side. And if that's the case, you're going to need more props underneath that right knee so that your upper body can, or your back body can stay flat on the ground. Yes. Okay, awesome. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to access that psoas. It's going to become an outer hip stretch, right? Yeah, those of you at home, it does look like you need a little more props. If you need to hop up and grab a pillow, we're going to be here for a while, but you want to be able to relax those knees. Yeah. Okay, arms are going to come up overhead now when you're ready. Reach for elbows or for wrists, your call. Now take your upper body. Remember, your shoulders are pretty flat on the mat, if you can make that possible. If it's not possible, you're propping yourself up really well. And you're going to slide now your arms to the right, same direction as your legs. So slide your arms over. And as you do that, your upper body starts to tilt into that kind of crescent moon or banana asana-like shape. Now, if you started to roll to your side, you're going to lose the stretch again. Yeah, so I'm going to go around the physical room right now. Those of you at home, again, just be really aware of propping yourself up enough so that you can relax here. And if you can, keep your hips facing up towards the ceiling, okay? And then really stretch to a point with the upper body that you're getting enough lateral flexion to start to tug at the front of your hip flexors. Yeah, great. I don't think you're gonna really feel this. Let's do this one. Tilt yourself a little bit more. That's on your hip. And start to work. That's okay. Yeah, your feet need to come wide again. Drop them to the right. Okay. Place this foot on your outer knee. And Jonathan, you're actually tilting the wrong direction, so you're gonna go this way. But you're gonna probably need to do it a lot more to feel anything. So you might need to move it again. So I'm going to demo this. We have some folks in here who are a little confused. So I'm going to demo this up front for a second. And my body does go into the shape pretty easily. So I just want you to be aware of that. So my legs start out wide. They have to start out wide for this to work. I'm going to drop them over to the right, and I'm going to take my right foot and place it on the outer knee. Now, a lot of folks are rolling like this. I'm going to lose sensation and lose access to the psoas if I do that. So if I can pretty much stay facing up without a prop, but my knee is floating, so I can't relax. So you need to prop up your knee enough to keep facing the ceiling. Okay. Then from there, the arms come up overhead, and you're tilting to a point. To access the psoas, we need a little bit of hip extension and we need lateral flexion in the spine. Remember, it connects to the spine, right? So we have to tilt enough to tug at those mid and lower vertebrae. So if you want to stand up and look at me from above, if that's helpful, you're welcome to do that. But I'm pretty staggered here. And I'm facing up, okay? So you need to prop your knees up enough in order to stay facing up. Got it? All right, so I'm gonna come around. If you want to try again, we're still at the right. You got this. Okay, Pat, so now you're gonna move your upper body this way, like quite a bit.
notice, can I press on your head? Try to see if you can keep facing up. That's best. And you might need to turn the block up or even use like a bolster. Do you want a bolster? That's a pretty good thing.
Okay.
Awesome. Not really. Yeah, it's you're coming up all of it. So we're gonna turn this. We're gonna turn this up. It's okay. It's totally okay if you're tight. We're just gonna prop yourself up to be aware of that. That's okay. Now arms up above. Yeah. And start to toes. So we want sensation here, all the way to like the back. I can touch you. Yeah. So like try to keep just relaxing that down. Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so okay, you're gonna come back to center. And then when you open up your legs about max distance. And then drop them over to the right. Is it okay if I touch you? Okay. You drop over to the right. And you don't have enough space here, so you have to place turns over. Awesome. So keep the feet wide, drop over in that direction. And you drop any more. Hold that. Yeah. Okay. Does that feel like as low as you would go? And then, okay, you can turn it. And then, how does it feel to place that foot on the outside? I'm gonna actually tug your foot forward a little bit. Is that okay? Okay, so I'm gonna press forward. I'm gonna take this. Okay, now arms come up overhead. And then you're gonna shift this way without rolling to your side. Yeah. Do you feel something here? Well, we want to feel something, not bad. So I'm gonna have you tilt more and more and more until you start to feel it. And then I'm gonna pass on your head, okay? And then see if you can kind of relax now. You feel something now? Yeah. Good. All right.
So folks in the room look good. We're actually going to hang out here for a couple of minutes. So we're kind of in a yin pose, right? And so in a yin pose, we don't want to be tensing muscle unnecessarily. We want to be relaxing as much as possible. So really try your best to soften. Corinne, at home, you are rolling a lot to your side, which is fine. If that's where you want to be, you can stay there. Otherwise, notice how your left hip is up off of the ground. We're going to try and keep that side of the body a little bit more grounded. So prop that right knee up. Yes, exactly. So that your hip can kind of stay facing the ceiling. You got it. Okay, so now you just get to kind of sink in. If the sensation is uncomfortable, that's okay. If you're feeling pain, there's a difference. I want you to slowly come out. But otherwise, bring your breath to the discomfort. Bring your awareness there. It's good information. And see if you can sit through a little bit of discomfort. See if you can relax around it. That is definitely a lesson that we can take off of our mats, because life is not always comfortable. But can we relax around the discomfort? Can we cradle ourselves? Can we nourish ourselves enough so that the parts that need to shift and change have access to that change? Can you create a container for that transformation to happen? Whether it be in your heart or in your psoas. The psoas is nicknamed the muscle of the soul, which some people love that. Some people, they don't like it. I like it. And Liz Koch believes that by cultivating a healthy psoas, we can actually rekindle our body's vital energy by learning to reconnect with the life force of the entire universe. Within the Taoist tradition, which yin yoga is connected to, the psoas is spoken of, like we said, as the muscle of the soul, because it surrounds the lower dantian, which is a major energy center of the body in Japanese tradition. So a flexible and strong psoas grounds us and allows subtle energy to flow through the bones, the muscles, and the joints. She says the psoas, by conducting energy, grounds us to the earth, just as a grounding wire prevents shocks and eliminates the static on a radio. Freed and grounded, the spine can awaken. Let's take a few more deep breaths. If you're staying. Those of you in the studio, I am placing consent cards by your mat. I should have done this earlier, but this might be a practice that could benefit from touch. So turn them up or down your call if you want touch. 1, 2, 3. Okay, we're gonna come back to center. So as you release, move really slowly. You were there for a while, right? And I want you to come to a more neutral place. So that might mean knees pointing towards the sky, head relaxed down, almost like that before bridge pose shape. Or it might mean actually turning your knees inward for a moment, little internal rotation, or hugging your knees into the chest. So noticing if there's any feelings of asymmetry from side to side in the body, noticing that. And sometimes in between the static holds, a little bit of movement can feel really helpful. Yeah, when you're ready, we're gonna move to the other side. So feet will come down onto the mat, about hips distance apart, mat distance apart, wider than hips distance. And when we say hips distance in yoga, we mean skeletal structure. So keep that in mind. It's often wider than what our brains say, or sometimes it's closer than what our brains say. So from here now, your knees are going to drop over to the left. And most of us are gonna catch our knee on a prop. Yeah. And then if you want more sensation, you're gonna take your left foot and place it on the right outer knee. So Jonathan, I still gonna use the prop your knees, you're starting to roll up. Yeah, so even if your knee can access the ground, it doesn't mean that it should because you're rolling up. Yeah. So at the studio, we just said, even if your knee can drop all the way to the ground, it doesn't mean that it should, because we want to keep the hips and the upper body facing towards the ceiling. So if you're rolling to your side, you still want to prop up that knee in order to have access to that sensation. Okay, so arms can come above you. You can reach for wrists or elbows, and you're going to stretch your arms in the same direction as your legs. And remember that lateral flexion needs to really happen in the low and mid spine in order to access the psoas. Try to keep those hips facing up. So Corinne, if that feels good, great. I do see maybe your feet could come quite a bit wider, and then dropping to the left, you'll want to prop underneath that left knee so the hips can stay up. Yeah. So again, now you just get to sink into this. Try your best to relax. If there are areas of the body that you can't relax in, relax around them. So Koch continues, as gravitational flows transfer weight through our bones, tissue, and muscle into the earth rebounds. Flowing back up the legs and spine, energizing, coordinating, and animating our posture, movement, and expression. It is an uninterrupted conversation between self, earth, and cosmos. We're going to take 5 or 6 more breaths if you're staying here. So again, as you release slowly. The transition is a shape within itself, right? So notice how you feel as you transition. Unwind and then come to a more neutral place for a moment or move a little bit to get blood flowing again. So we've done flexion, extension, twists, and lateral flexion, and we've started to wake up the psoas. Now we're going to meet with the knees hugged into our chest. And we'll cup the back of the knees and start to rock and roll on the mat. And again, try to notice all of the vertebrae here. You can really build up some momentum. We'll pick up the energy just a bit. When you're ready, we'll cross at the ankles. And if this transition doesn't work for you, take another one. And we're going to come onto the hands and the knees. Once you're on your hands and your knees, I'm going to have you extend your right leg out behind you. So if the hip starts to move up, so from center, from your torso, your hip is an extension, right? So if we lift that leg up, our hip is an extension. If we turn the hip out, it's an external rotation. We're going to lift it up, and you can turn it out a little bit, but we're going to step the foot over to the left side. Yeah, great. And then I want you to energetically kind of press your right hip, and you might actually move it a couple of inches over to the right as well. And then just start to climb your left hand over to the left. Awesome. Take a nice deep breath. Another one if it feels okay. And then one more. Awesome. Come on, back to center. Really stretching through that side of the belly. We're gonna lift up the right leg now. Big inhale. And as you exhale, let's step it through to a lunge. So take it way forward on your mat. And you might pad your back knee a little bit and come to the kind of soft tissue in front of the kneecap rather than landing on the kneecap itself. And let's climb our way up onto our thighs. If you have blocks here, you can take them under your hands as well. And then I want you to just press your hips forward any amount until you start to feel sensation to the front of the left side. Okay, right hand now can either come to a block or to your right hip. And we're going to sweep the left arm up overhead. Maybe chin mudra, index finger and thumb connect. Big inhale, breathe up through the left side. And as you exhale, tip over to the right. Yeah. And then continue to breathe. Try not to hold the breath there. Your joints are probably stacked in your front leg. If it feels okay to overstep a little bit in your knee, that's fine. But for that stability, we're going to press down through that foot for balance. Take a big inhale, breathe up through the side. Awesome. And then exhale, slowly come back to center. Reach both arms up. Inhale, arch back slightly. Exhale, hands come down through the midline. Hello, chakras. And release along the sides of the hips or onto blocks. We're just going to straighten and bend in that leg a little bit. Saying hello to the hamstrings as you reach back. If something feels extra sticky, feel free to stay and hang out. Lovely. The next time you come forward, we're going to lift up that back knee. And then we're going to walk over to the side of our yoga mats and start to bow the toes in slightly. And we'll take an inhale and just lift up halfway. So maybe you're on fingertips, maybe you're on blocks. And if you're lifting up halfway, lift over to the side if you have someone else's bum in front. Yeah. Exhale, let's slowly release down. Okay, if you want a little bit for upper body this morning, you could link your hands behind you. If you have a strap or a piece of clothing, you can take it in between your hands because we're going to see if we can externally rotate the shoulders. So turn them away from your sternum, that bone in the center of the chest. See how that feels. Nice deep breaths. You could always kind of pulse the legs straight and then bend the knees. Feel that out. Nice, and then exhale, let's release the legs. We're gonna come into Skandasana. So you're gonna bend into your right knee. Yeah, or sometimes we call this ninja pose. And then turn your back left toes up towards the sky. Awesome. We're gonna place the right hand out in front. So ground it down. Reach the left arm up overhead and stretch towards my voice or towards the top of your mat. Yeah. Big inhale. Full exhale. Okay, listen carefully. Take that right knee, land it on the ground if you're with me. And we're going to press the hips up and reach back now. So accessing the front of the hips, hip flexors again. Yeah, big inhale. Okay, tuck your toes. Exhale, drop back down, Skandasana. Turn forward, plant the hands on the mat. And we're going to step back to our first downward facing dog of the morning. Drop your head. Maybe pedal out your feet. Cue yourself through all of the helpful cues that help you to land in a downward facing dog that feels comfortable, right? Neutralize those shoulders on your back. Relax the head. Try to take the rounding out of the spine. Folks at home, can you press back towards your thighs? Lift your hips a little higher so that the chest moves downward and back. Yeah. And we move out of that spinal flexion. Hands come a little bit wider on the mat. Yeah, to neutralize those shoulders, to land them in a nice strong place. Spread the fingers wide. That's your foundation for holding your down dog. Take up space on your mat. Full deep breath in. Exhale, slow motion, drop your knees down if you're with me, and we're gonna send the left leg out now. So left leg comes out, big inhale. Full exhale, you might lift that leg, come into extension. You can turn it out a little bit, and then we're gonna step over to the right. Yeah, and you'll kind of have to turn your hip back down there. So we're gonna start to look over the right shoulder, and at the same time, swing your left hip over to the left. And then breathe deeply. Take that right hand, and you can start to climb it over to the right. That might mean that you can kind of access a little bit more lateral flexion in the spine. As you swing the hip in the opposite direction, take a full deep breath. Nice, and then come back to center. Left leg floats up behind. Big inhale, reach it up. Exhale, step it through. Great. And then you can climb on up. So hands can come onto the thigh. We're gonna sink the pelvis forward. Again, remember to get in a nice comfortable spot on that back knee. So generally the patella, that cushiony bit of tissue in front of the kneecap, not the kneecap itself. I definitely need to pad my knee in low lunge as well. All right, when you're ready, left hand can come to a block or onto your hip. Right hand reaches up now. Index finger and thumb can connect. And we're gonna start to lean over to the left. Yeah. So lean to a point where you feel sensation. I feel this in my lower back, in the front of my hip. I can definitely kind of tap into my psoas, although that takes, you know, a lot of somatic awareness. I have to really concentrate to feel it, but it's there. It's waking up. Nice, back to center. Let's inhale, both arms up overhead, maybe arch back. Exhale, hands come through the midline. We bow, hands land on either side of that leg, and let's start to bend and straighten forward and back. Maybe stopping if it's sticky. Awesome, and then we're gonna come forward and turn into Skandasana. So that side lunge, it's almost like doing Malasana or squats on one half of the body. The other leg is extended, toes are up, dorsiflexion, that back foot, right? Okay, left hand's gonna come out to the outside of your left hip or forward on your mat. Right hand reaches up overhead, bicep above the ear, start to stretch towards the front of the wrist. Dig that right heel down for balance. Full deep breath. Awesome. Exhale, drop the left knee if you're with me. You can untuck the toes as you reach up and back. Arda. Oh, I'm forgetting. Half circle pose. I forget how to say circle in Sanskrit, but we're in half circle here. I'll remind you later. Beautiful. Exhale, let's come on back. And then we're just gonna move over towards the center of the mat again. You can bow your toes in. Take a halfway lift, inhale. Lower back down as you exhale. And this time maybe you climb your hands through your legs. You can bend and straighten the legs as your hamstrings continue to work. Breathing in. Yeah, breathing out. Nice, and then shifting forward towards that left knee, back into Skandasana. We're gonna turn forward, plant my hands, step back, downward facing dog. Maybe you slide forward with me to high plank this time, dropping the knees and the chest down, exhale. And then inhale, sliding the heart forward, maybe cobra. Exhale, releasing back down, tucking the toes, sliding back to plank or table to lift the hips, downward facing dog. Awesome. So from here, I'm gonna have you take your hands and just start to climb them back towards your toes. Take your time here. Slow it down. You can lift your heels or you can start to drop them as you get closer and closer to the back of your legs. Exhale over your thighs. Shake it out a little. Uttanasana. Yeah, inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, back down. Inhale, let's come all the way up to standing. Take your time. Sweep your arms up. Exhale, hands come through the midline. Tadasana. Okay, you can stay at the back of your mat if that feels okay. So you're gonna take a nice deep breath. Inhale, we're gonna sweep the arms up. Exhale, sit down into your chair for a moment. Maybe you lift your heels up for a little extra challenge. Engage through center, neutral spine, neutral pelvis, big deep breath. Nice, release back down. Okay, so heels plant. We're gonna take our feet and measure them about hips distance. Feel free to use a wall here. And we're gonna take our right foot rather, and balance it to the inside of the left foot. So we're coming into tree. If you're on your kneecap, you really light. So you're externally rotating your left hip here. Feel free to use a wall as you set up. You're gonna elevate your right hip and depress your left so that they even out, okay? Inhale, sweep your arms up overhead if you're with me. And then option to reach for your left wrist and start to tip over to the right, over towards the same side as your legs. Yes. So tipping to the same side as your legs, folks at home. Yeah, and you don't have to tip, that's fine. It's a little added challenge, right? Same side as the leg that's up, yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, big deep breath. As you release, come back to center and step halfway up your mat. Nice. And then left foot can join your right. Inhale your arms up. Exhale into chair. Maybe lift your heels, big deep breath. Exhale, release, stand tall. Okay, so other side, we're balancing on the right foot now. Unless you did the other side, that's okay. Left foot's gonna come somewhere to the inside of your leg. Be gentle if it's on your knee. And then level out your hips. So that's gonna mean depressing your right hip generally and lifting up through your left hip. Inhale, arms come up overhead. Gently clasping the right wrist. We're gonna tip now over to the left. Same side as that left leg that's externally rotated. Great, breathe in. Breathe out. Use a wall if it's helpful. Nice, you got it, Tyler. All right. As you come back down through center, step all the way to the top of the mat. Inhale your arms up. Exhale, sit into your chair. Lift your heels, inhale. Exhale, fold forward this time, Uttanasana. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Ardha is half. Exhale, release. We're gonna bend the knees this time and come all the way down to sit. And we're gonna cross our legs so that the right foot is out in front. Inhale the arms up. And then exhale and start to fold forward any amount. You can use a bolster or blocks here. Big deep breaths. Nice, and then from here, I want you just to climb over to the left side of your mat or off of your mat. And as you do that, see if you can kind of anchor down through your sits bones in your seat. Stay facing the ground with the upper body if you're able. Yeah. And then over to the other side, over to the right. Nice, back to center. We're gonna switch the cross in the legs. Inhale, arms reach up. Exhale, lower down to blocks or bolster your palm or ground. When you're ready, climbing over to the right. And then over to the left. Long exhales to start to slow the heart rate. Nice, back to center. We're gonna slowly come on down to the back. Knees can point out towards the sky. I'm gonna offer one more back bend. So maybe you take bridge again. If you feel prepped for a wheel, we haven't done a ton in the shoulders, but you did quite a bit of extension earlier. You could go into wheel. Otherwise, maybe it's time now to clasp your hands underneath you in your bridge to get a little bit more opening to the upper body. Feel that out. You take 3 more breaths, long exhale. And slowly lower down to the mat when you're all done. Let's finish out with happy baby. So knees can hug into the chest, grab for the backs of the knees or the outer arches of the feet or big toes, and then allow your hips to externally rotate. But stamp your sacrum down onto the mat. So you've got actually a nice neutral spine here. You can press hands into feet, feet into hands. Take 5 deep breaths. Yeah, releasing when you're ready. If there's any last shapes you'd like to take to complete your practice, feel free to take them, and then we're going to move into your Shavasana. Those of you in the room, I have a little bit of geranium hydrosol. It's like a spray that's safe to even go in your eyes. It's so gentle. If you want some, you'll keep your card facing up, and if you don't, just turn it down. So as you settle into your Shavasana at home too, if there's anything you want to cover your eyes or a blanket over your body, we won't be here for too long. So try to stay kind of in the zone, but get comfy, drop in, take a deep breath. Let's all take a deep breath in and exhale, let it go. Remembering that movement, dance, free expression releases the psoas, but so does total relaxation. Because it's chronically tightened. So moving to the emotional pieces that connect to the physical aspects of our body. This is a quote from Don Miguel Ruiz, but not from the 4 Agreements, from the Mastery of Self. He says, remember to be gentle with yourself as you explore and release past events that have caused you pain. It can be difficult, but the truth is that the tougher it is, the more you stand to gain. The freedom you will experience will profoundly affect your life going forward. And it's very difficult to progress on your path without going through this important step of forgiving yourself. Take it slow, return to exercises when you need to, stop when you need to, but go a little deeper each time. Taking a full deep breath in We're gonna sigh it out. Yeah, again, big inhale. Exhale, let it go. Inhale. Exhale. When you're ready, reaching the arms up overhead, full body stretch. Exhale, hug the knees in towards the chest. You can roll off to one side. And gently press yourself up to seated. Hands can come to the center of the heart. So palms pressing together. Anjali, Anjali Mudra, recognition of divine self. Lengthen through the spine. Again, we'll share a deep breath together. Inhaling. Exhaling. And then an internal om, and as you om, imagine the sound dropping down to the pelvis and to the psoas, nourishing it. Inhale to begin. Om Shanti, everyone. Thank you so much for practicing with me this morning. Om Shanti, Zoomies, folks in the room. Zoom, I am going to log off for the next hour. Those of you in the room, if you can stop right before you go anywhere, listen carefully. If you are staying for class, you can keep your stuff where it is. If you are not staying for class and you have an Arcana mat, if you can just wipe down the mat and put the props away, we'll just leave the mat out because this class is full, so it'll help us to space, and folks coming in can put their mats down. Yeah. And then we're going to do a real quick transition after class, so just keep that in mind. If you are not staying for class, get your stuff out of here as soon as possible. Thank you. All right.
Jenny, when are you restarting the Zoom?
The whole schedule is in your manual, but we're gonna start at 10:30, although this room is gonna be transitioning, so it'll probably be more like 10:30, 10:40,
Okay.
10:35, 10:40. Yeah.
Thanks.
All right.